Picture a road, not a paved highway, a dirt road, ancient and cracked, cutting through sun-scorched hills. Somewhere on that road, a young man is walking. He's thin. His sandals are worn to almost nothing. His robe, what's left of it, is stained and torn. He smells like the animals he's been working with. And here is the thing that makes this moment so extraordinary. This young man chose this. He didn't fall into poverty. He didn't get robbed. He walked away from a wealthy, loving home on purpose, took his father's money, and spent every last coin on a life that left him empty. He's rehearsing something as he walks. Words, an apology, a speech he's been turning over in his mind for days. Because as broken as he has decided to go home in. What happens next is one of the most powerful moments in all of human storytelling, not just the Bible, all of literature. And today, we're going to walk through it together, slowly, so you don't miss a single word. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Today, we're diving into the parable of the prodigal son, found in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 15, verses 11 through 32. But before we open the story itself, I want to give you the context Jesus told it in, because it changes everything about how you hear it. Luke 15 opens with a confrontation. Tax collectors and sinners are gathering around Jesus, and the Pharisees, the religious leaders, are grumbling. This man welcomes sinners and eats with them. That is their complaint. So Jesus responds, not with an argument, but with 3 stories. The lost sheep, the lost coin, and then this, the longest, most layered story he ever told in a parable form. He is speaking directly to people who believe that God only welcomes the deserving, and he is about to shatter that idea. Here is what you need to understand about the cultural world of this parable. In first-century Jewish society, the family was everything. The eldest son would inherit the bulk of the father's estate. The younger son would receive a portion, typically 1/3, but only upon the father's death. To ask for your inheritance while your father was still living was not just rude. It was not just disrespectful. It was, in effect, saying, I wish you were dead. You are more valuable to me as a dead man than as a living father. Every single person in Jesus' audience would have understood this. They would have expected the father to have the young man beaten and thrown out, or at the very least, publicly shamed. What the father actually does is the first miracle of this story. And it hasn't even started yet. He divides the estate without argument, without punishment. He gives his younger son, this boy who has essentially just told him he wishes he were dead, exactly what he asked for. Let that sit with you as we begin. Let's build the world of this story. Imagine a large property in the countryside of ancient Judea. Stone walls, a courtyard where chickens scratch in the dust, olive trees that have stood for 100 years, servants who have worked the land for decades. The man who owns this estate is successful, not extravagantly wealthy by Roman standards, but comfortable. The kind of man other village families look up to. He has 2 sons. The older son is everything a Jewish father could hope for. He rises early. He works hard. He never complains. When his father speaks, he listens. He is responsible, loyal, and entirely overlooked, which will matter deeply later in our story. The younger son is different. He is not cruel or wicked in some dramatic way. He is simply restless. He watches the trade caravans pass on the road below the estate, and he imagines what is beyond the hills. He wants more. He wants it faster. He wants it now. We don't know exactly when the younger son decides to do it. Maybe it builds slowly over months. Maybe it comes to him one night, lying awake, listening to the sounds of the household, and he just decides. He walks to his father. His mouth is dry. His hands, perhaps, are shaking. And he says it. Father, give me the share of the property that will belong to me. Luke chapter 15, verse 12 simply says, and he divided his property between them. No shouting, no public shaming, no lecture. The father gives his younger son, this boy who has essentially just told him he wishes he were dead, exactly what he asked for. This detail is staggering. The father has every legal and cultural right to refuse. But he doesn't. He opens his hand. He lets him go. Some theologians believe this is itself a portrait of God. A father who will not force love, who gives us the freedom to choose badly, who lets us go, even when it breaks his heart. A few days later, that is the exact phrase in Luke's text, the younger son packs everything and leaves for a distant country. He does not say a long goodbye. He does not linger. He has what he wanted, and he walks away. Luke tells us that in the distant country, the son squanders his inheritance in loose living. He had everything, and he burns through it. Perhaps he had friends for the first time in his life. The kind that appear when you have money and vanish when it runs out. Perhaps he bought things he thought would make him happy. Perhaps he simply lived with the throttle wide open, spending and spending until the tank was empty. And then it was gone. A severe famine strikes the land, and we need to understand what famine meant in the ancient world. This is not an inconvenience. This is not a period of belt-tightening. Famine in the 1st century meant people died. Children died. Old people died. The fields cracked. The wells dried up. Animals vanished. The young man has no money left. He has no friends left, because fair weather friends disappear with the money. He is completely alone in a foreign country with nothing. He finds work with a citizen of that country who sends him to feed pigs. For a Jewish audience, this detail is almost comically awful. Pigs are unclean animals under Jewish law. Touching them makes you ritually impure. Working with them is considered degrading even for a Gentile. For a Jewish young man, it is the absolute bottom of the social and religious ladder. He has not just lost his money. He has lost his identity. He is not just poor. He is unclean, far from home, and cut off from everything that defined him. Luke tells us he was longing to fill his stomach with the pods the pigs were eating, and no one gave him anything. He is so hungry that pig food looks good. That is rock bottom. That is the place where a person is stripped of every pretense, every illusion, every escape. And then, in verse 17, one of the most profound phrases in the entire New Testament, when he came to himself. When he came to himself. In other translations, when he came to his senses, when he woke up, when he finally saw clearly. This is not a dramatic spiritual vision. There is no angel appearing to him. There is no voice from heaven. He is just a hungry young man, sitting in the mud beside a pig trough, and the fog finally clears. He thinks of his father's house. He thinks of the servants there, hired workers who have more than enough bread while he is starving to death in a foreign field. And he makes a decision. I will arise and go to my father. He is not expecting forgiveness. Not really. He knows what he did. He knows how deeply he shamed his family. He has a speech ready. A pragmatic, humble request. Make me like one of your hired servants. He is not asking to be a son again. He does not believe he deserves that. He just wants to survive. He just wants bread. And that is enough. That first step, I will get up, is everything. Luke doesn't tell us how long the journey takes. Days, probably. Maybe a week. He walks the same road he took on his way out, but in reverse, back toward everything he abandoned. He rehearses his speech as he walks. He runs the words over and over in his mind. He edits it. He tries different versions. He is preparing himself for the worst, for rejection, for disgrace, for his father to look at him with cold, justified fury. What he is not prepared for is what actually happens. And Luke 15, verse 20. But while he was still a great way off, his father saw him. Hold on. Let's stay with this sentence for a moment. While he was still a great way off, meaning the father could not yet see his face, could not yet hear his voice. He was just a silhouette on the road. How does the father recognize him from that distance? There is only one answer. The father was watching. He had been watching that road, perhaps every day since his son left, perhaps every morning, standing at the gate, looking toward the horizon. He never stopped looking, and the moment he sees that particular shape, that particular walk, he knows. And then the father runs. In first-century Middle Eastern culture, a man of his stature, a man of his age and dignity, did not run. Running was for children. It was undignified. A respected landowner running down the road with his robes lifted would have been an extraordinary, almost scandalous sight. He does not walk out to meet him. He does not wait at the door, arms folded, with a cool, measured reception. He runs. He covers the ground between them as fast as his legs will carry him. He falls on his son's neck and kisses him. The son opens his mouth to begin his rehearsed speech. "Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son." But before he can finish, before he can get to the part about being made a servant, the father is calling to his servants. "Bring the best robe, a ring for his finger, sandals for his feet, kill the fattened calf. We're going to celebrate." The speech is interrupted. The apology is received before it is completed. The son does not earn his way back. He comes home, and Grace meets him on the road. Let's slow down and look at each of these gifts, because every single one is deliberate. Jesus chose these details carefully, and to a first-century Jewish audience, each one carried specific meaning. The robe. Luke calls it the best robe. This is a garment of honor, likely the finest robe in the entire household. The father takes this robe and places it over his son's stained, torn, pig-stinking clothing. He covers the evidence of where his son has been. He does not demand the son clean up first. He covers him as he is, the ring. In the ancient world, a signet ring was not jewelry. It was authority. It was the family seal, used to sign documents and conduct business. The father is not just saying, "Welcome home." He is saying, "You are a son, not a servant. You have authority in this house. You are restored to your position." The sandals. This detail is subtle but powerful. Slaves and servants went barefoot or wore simple sandals they owned themselves. Sons wore sandals provided by the household. The father is making a public declaration. This is not a hired worker. This is my son. And then the fattened calf. In an agrarian household, an animal like this was not slaughtered casually. It was kept, fed special food, fattened and prepared for the most important occasion of the year, a wedding, a harvest festival, a visit from a powerful dignitary. To slaughter it for a son who wasted the family inheritance is an extravagant, almost irrational act of celebration. The father says, "For this my son was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found." And they begin to celebrate, but the story is not over. And this is where Jesus does something extraordinary. The older brother is in the field. He hears music. He calls a servant and asks what is happening. The servant tells him, "Your brother has come home and your father has thrown a party for him." And the older son, the dutiful, faithful, never-wandering older son, is furious. He refuses to go inside. His father comes out to him. Again, this is significant. The father goes out. He does not demand that his older son come in. He walks out into the dark to find him. The older son's anger pours out. "Look, these many years I have served you. I never disobeyed your command. Yet you never gave me even a young goat, so I could celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours came, this one who devoured your property with prostitutes, you killed the fattened calf for him." Notice something. He does not say my brother. He says this son of yours. In his anger, he has disowned him. And the father's response is one of the most tender moments in the entire Bible. "Son, you are always with me, and everything I have is yours." It was fitting to celebrate and be glad, for this your brother was dead and is alive. He was lost and is found. Son, not servant, not disappointment. Son, you are always with me. Everything I have is yours. The father is telling him, you were never unloved. You were never unappreciated. You always had everything. But you have been standing here in the fields, resentful when you could have been celebrating. And then the parable ends. Without resolution, Jesus never tells us if the older brother goes inside. That is intentional. Jesus ends the story mid-moment because he is looking at the Pharisees as he tells it. They are the older brother, faithful, rule-keeping, resentful that God would welcome sinners back into his presence. And the question hangs in the air, will you go in? So what do we do with this story? What do we carry home? I want to give you 4 things, 4 truths this parable reveals that I believe can genuinely change how you live this week. First, there is no too far gone. The younger son reached a depth that most of us never will. He broke one of the deepest taboos of his culture. He burned every bridge. He ended up in a pig field, ritually impure, financially ruined, relationally abandoned. And when he turned around, the father ran. Whatever you have done, whoever you have hurt, whatever shameful thing you carry, this story says the road home is open. The father is watching, and the moment he sees you, he runs. Second, coming home does not require a perfect speech. The son prepared his words carefully. He had his apology ready. He was going to ask for a job, not a relationship. And before he could even finish, Grace interrupted him. You do not need to have everything figured out before you return to God. You do not need to have cleaned yourself up. You do not need a polished, perfect repentance. You just need to get up and start walking. Grace will meet you on the road. Third, the older brother's prison is invisible. The older son was never in a pig field. He never left. But he was in his own kind of captivity, a prison of resentment, comparison, and a transaction-based relationship with his father. He served, but not out of love, out of obligation. He obeyed, but was not joyful. He was physically present, but emotionally closed. Ask yourself honestly, have you been serving God hoping he will owe you something? Have you been faithful on the outside, but resentful on the inside? The older brother's story is a warning that you can be in the house and still miss the party. Fourth, the father in this story is the point. This parable is not primarily about what the younger son did wrong or what the older son did right. It is about the father who gives freedom even when it will be abused, the father who watches and waits, the father who runs, who covers, who restores, who celebrates, who goes out into the dark to find the son who stayed. Jesus is telling the Pharisees, and he is telling us, that this is what God is like. Not a scorekeeper, not a grudge holder, a running father, a robe giver, a calf killer, a party thrower. That is the God of this story, and it is the best news in the world. Before we go, let me ask you a question, a real one, not rhetorical. Which son are you today? Are you the younger son, someone who has wandered, who feels too far gone, who is rehearsing an apology and hoping for a servant's job? Let this story tell you, the road is open. Start walking. He is already watching. Or are you the older son, faithful, present, but standing outside the party with your arms folded? Let the Father's words reach you. Everything I have is yours. Come inside. Stop measuring. Start celebrating. Let's close with a prayer together. Father, thank you for running. Thank you that you don't wait for us to get cleaned up before you come toward us. Thank you for the robe, the ring, the sandals. Thank you that the party is already prepared. Help us today to take the first step, or to walk back inside. For those listening who feel too far gone, may this story settle into their hearts like bread after a long fast. In Jesus' name, Amen. And I would love to hear from you. Which son do you relate to most right now? There is no wrong answer. Drop it in the comments below. I read every one. If this story hits something real, please share it with one person today, someone who needs to hear about the Father who runs. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. God bless you. I'll see you next time.